It's the evil Foot Clan's Mutant Module. Shredder and his henchmen have used it to drill into the underground gold bowl.
So the other thing that Playmates Toys has been doing is reissuing a lot of the vintage stuff, including the vehicles. And they've really been ramping those up lately. I mean, we even got playsets, right? We got the Technodrome playset last year. The sewer layer is coming this year, but we're also getting some of those classic vehicles like this one right here, the Mutant Module, the burrowing bad boy bus. This is iconic, right? Like if the Turtle Van or the Party Wagon is what you would call like the iconic heroes vehicle for the line, I would argue that the Mutant Module is the iconic bad guys vehicle for the original line. So this is pretty cool in the sense that the original one has gotten pretty pricey. It's got a lot of easy to lose pieces on it, meaning piecing together a complete one can get kind of pricey. So for anybody that just wants one to play around with or display with their toys, this is a solution for that. At least that's the hope. We are going to unbox this. We're going to take a good look at it. We're really going to measure it up. Of course, we are going to look at the fact that, like, there are negatives to reissuing vintage toys as well. So with a lot of those pieces from the vintage one being so easy to lose, I am curious if the pieces on the new one are easily distinguishable from the vintage one so that they can't get mixed up. So I will say packaging looks awesome on this. Totally bringing that original artwork back. The box is big and bulky, but we do have some new photography on there, which is something that Playmates has been doing with these new ones, so I think that is really good. Kind of more representative of what you're getting in the box. They're not just recycling the old photos there, but yeah, the box has a very cool vintage look to it, and this is another one that is showing up on store shelves. People are finding this at Target. I didn't find it at my Target because my Target sucks, but I did order it from Target.com. And the reason I'm kind of batching this together with the remastered figures that we looked at is I've noticed a lot of people are using these vintage vehicles for the remastered figures. Figure we'd try that out too. Let's open this up and put it together. Now, before we go any further, I did want to show you guys what this looks like straight out of the box. So most of this is here assembled, but you do have all these pieces right here that you're going to need to put together. So get ready. There is assembly required, just like we remember from when we were kids. In addition to all those pieces, oh boy, we got a bunch of stickers. Gugh. And then, of course, you got a sheet of instructions that shows you where everything is gonna go. So now is the time where I'm going to put this whole thing together. I'm gonna put those stickers on, and then we'll come back and see how this vehicle measures up. Okay, so here it is, our new Mutant Module, all assembled, ready to go. Let's take a closer look at it. So definitely confirm, out of the box, it's certainly using that more modern plastic. And you know exactly what I mean by that. It feels lighter weight. It feels a little softer. It doesn't feel bad. It's not overly pliable or flexible or anything like that. But the entirety of this vehicle feels much lighter than the vintage one by comparison. However, it looks great. I'll give it that. Like, this looks really nice. And it's really kind of cool seeing this thing fully complete. Like, when you find the Mutant Module, the vintage one, out toy hunting, it's always missing stuff. Like, this is one of those vehicles that's got so many little pieces that you never find it complete. Also, I mean, look how crystal clear the windows are up here. I mean, that seriously looks nice. So it looks really good. Love the bright orange on the back there. Love the purple, the colors all look good. The stickers weren't terrible either. I mentioned having to put on those stickers. The worst part is that you have to do every one of these individual little foot logos on both sides on these treads. But then, you know, you got a foot logo here and you got some other little square stickers. It's not too bad. Like, it actually didn't take me too much work to put the stickers on, and they went on fine. I didn't have any issues with them. So pretty neat. Now, this does seem to be one-to-one with the vintage vehicle as far as its overall size goes. So if we bring in the tape measure, you can see from the tip of the nose cone up here to the back, you're looking at about 14 inches. The vehicle stands almost 7 inches tall. So, you know, it should fit right in with your vintage figures. In fact, here is our vintage shredder. But as I mentioned, one of the things that was kind of exciting to me with the new stuff is seeing how they measure up with the new, like, remastered figures. So if you've got that new remastered pack and you've got that new shredder, here is what the new shredder looks like standing alongside that. And you can see that it works just fine. So if you want to use these new remastered figures with the vintage style vehicles, or upcoming vintage style playsets like the sewer home, which is starting to show up, I definitely think those are going to work pretty good. And I can definitely see a lot of collectors wanting to do that. So we'll put them inside here in just a minute. I do want to kind of show this off a little bit more. If you're not familiar with the Mutant Module, this works just like the vintage one. When you roll it forward, the little drill on the front spins. You can actually see it's very smooth. Like, it rolls really nicely. The drill is spinning. It is very cool. See all these tiny little drills on the front? This is one of the things I was talking about. These are pieces that are always missing from the vintage one, because these are all individual little pieces that you have to plug in on the front. So it actually looks so cool seeing this thing complete, seriously. Then you've got, of course, the little laser cannons on the sides that can rotate. You've got the detachable missiles up here on the windows. Those should just pop right off like so. That way, if you want to pretend like they're firing, you can. They're just little pegs that plug into the windows. You can fold down those windows. This, of course, opens up your cockpit in here, where we do have a sticker. This sticker right here was already on, so I didn't even have to attach the console sticker, which is nice. I'm glad. That one I think would have been a little bit trickier to, like, reach inside and place that on. Otherwise, it's just red in there with some treads, but that does give room for your figures to sit. So, for example, you know, we can put our vintage shredder in there. He stands weird, but you know, you get the idea. Look, you can put him on the inside. Obviously, the lid closes fine. You can usually fit a couple figures in there, and then let's see. Let's bring in modern shredder. He's got a different cape too, so that's actually going to be interesting. But you can fold the cape backwards. Here's the thing, that will actually make it so that it's a little harder to put more figures in here, I think, because you see the way the cape is. I have to kind of like bend it backwards to get him down far enough. Let's see if we can even make it look good in here. There we go. And that way we can close this up. And there's Shredder on the inside there. There he is. There he is. You see him? He's inside. That looks pretty good. Totally doable. You might have noticed I just popped off one of the little engines on the back. Those just plug in. They got like little sockets right there that are shaped accordingly. It's like a little half circle, so it plugs in. I just bumped it and it did fall off. So these are also always missing from the vintage one, as are all of these little cables. So you can totally see how those would all be missing from the vintage one. So it's kind of cool to see it all here. And honestly, this feels pretty sturdy. I mean, it's lightweight, but it's sturdy. It feels like a solid vehicle. You've also got the little gun right here, where you got the handles on the inside so that you can get a foot soldier or shredder or whatever to grip onto it and rotate it. It's a fun vehicle. I like it. Honestly, I really do like this. And we got to do this. It's comparison time. So this is my vintage Mutant Module from my personal collection, and you can see that it is just not in great shape in comparison. Mine is, of course, missing all of those little drills in the front. You can see that I do still have these little cannon turrets on the side, but I'm even missing stickers and everything. And then look at the windows. You see how, like, aged they look? This is really common. So that's why, like, when I saw the crystal clear windows on this new one when I opened it, I was like, oh my gosh, is that what the vintage one looked like when it was brand new? But you can see size-wise, I mean, like, these are basically exactly the same size. And I do want to show this. Let's see if I can get these little drills off here. One of the things that I talked about, so one of the things that I mentioned is that when they're reissuing these vintage vehicles, one of the biggest concerns is being able to isolate it from the vintage one. Like, you can tell that it's a modern re-release. And where it always gets a little dicey is with the accessories, especially when the vintage line has accessories that are harder to get and therefore are a little bit more valuable. You know, you don't want people to be able to pass off modern accessories as vintage, even if by accident. So one of the things I was really curious about on this were those tiny little drills on the front. And thankfully, look at this. On the new one, they are little pegs and they're little holes. So these plug in to these little holes. And on the vintage one, they're little nubs that they would go fit over these little nubs. So you cannot mix up these tiny little drills with the vintage one. And those are the things I was honestly the most concerned about, those tiny little drills, because those are always missing on the vintage one. So they are not interchangeable with the vintage one for those that care about that. Otherwise, you can see it's very, very similar to the vintage vehicle. Size-wise, it is the same, so they did not shrink this thing down, which I think fans are going to be very happy about. And honestly, this is just a really great way to get a hold of a very iconic villain vehicle for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. If you just want something nice on your shelf to fill in a gap, or you want to use it with the modern figures or any of the modern reissues, I mean, this is great for that. It looks really nice, and you cannot deny that opening up a brand new vintage style vehicle like this, doesn't give you that nostalgic feeling. It's really, really cool, piecing this thing together. Seriously, those crystal clear windows did it. I was like, oh my God, it looks so nice looking. The plastics are a little different, obviously. The vintage one is much sturdier, much thicker plastic. It's also got a bit of a gloss to it. The modern one is like a flat plastic, as you can see, so it doesn't have that same shine to it. So you can definitely tell it apart from the vintage, but it's still a nice toy and definitely worth the price that I think is being charged by modern day standards. So if this looks like something you would be interested in, I would recommend checking it out. These are being sold, I believe, exclusively at Target. I have not still seen this on my actual Target store shelves. I had to order this from Target's website, but it was in stock. I was able to order it for shipping, so definitely check there if you're not finding it in your local Target store. And stay tuned. I'm going to be taking a look at some more of the reissue stuff, because the sewer layer, that'll be here next, and I'm very curious how the sewer layer turns out.